So we begin on page 1 in our prayer books. Ashrei Ashrei Techa, U'Jehalu Chasela, Ashrei Am Shekachalo, Ashrei Am Sharanai Elohav. We continue silently. Third line from the bottom on page 1 in the Hebrew. Tehilat Adonai yidaber pi, vivarech kol basar shem kadsho, leolam vaed, va'anachnu nivarech yam, me'ata v'ad olam, hallelujah. Page 2, we continue with the Chatzi Kaddish. Yikadav, Yikadav, Shemei Rabban, Bi'almad Yivrach Yirutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon, U'v'yohomechon, U'v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, Bagalav Izman Kariv, V'yimeruhu Amen, Yehishmei Rabba Mevorach, Leolam Leomei Amaya Yitbarach, Yitbarach V'yishtabach, V'yitbar V'yitramam V'yitnasei, V'yithadar V'yitale V'yitalal, Shemei Kudusha V'richu, Leolam in Kol Birchata V'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiran bi'alma, v'yimeruhu amen. Those who can, we rise now for the Shabbat afternoon Amidah, page 2. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor V'Adorai, Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Akol, V'Zocher Chazdei Avot, V'Yimahot, U'Mevi Goel Ibnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham V'Yezrach Sarah, Atah Gibor Yolam Adonai, Mechayim Eitim Atah Rav L'Hoshia, Morid Atah, Mechalkel Chayim B'Chesed, Mechayim eitim berachamim rabim, somech noflim berofei cholim umatir asurim, umekayim emunato l'shinei afar, michamocha bal geburot, umihidom melach, melech meimitu mechayim atzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah l'hachayot meitim, baruch atah Adonai, mechayei hameitim, nikadesh et shemcha b'olam, Kishem shemakdishim oto b'shemei marom, kakatu v'yad neviyecha v'karazeh el zeh v'yamar, kadosh, 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 Adonai tzavaot, meloch al haaretz kevodo, liyomatam baruch yomeru, baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo, uvdivrei kadshecha katuv lemor, yimloch Adonai li'olam, Elohai Tzion L'dor Vador, hallelujah. L'dor Vador, L'dor Vador, L'dor Vador, Nagid Gad Elecha, L'dor Vador, L'dor Vador, L'dor Vador, Nagid Gad Elecha, U'lenitzach nitzachim, Kedushatecha Nakdish, Kedushatecha Nakdish, לשבחך אלוהינו, מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גדלך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גדלך, כי המלך גדול והקדוש אתה, והקדוש אתה. כי המלך גדול והקדוש אתה, והקדוש אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. We continue silently on page 4 and the first paragraphs on page 5, and we offer our own silent prayers for our brothers and sisters in Israel.
Empezamos en oración en silencio por nuestros hermanos que se encuentran en Israel.
We offer prayer, peace for people of Israel,
Ofrecemos oración, paz por la gente que está en Israel,
for the innocent people
la gente inocente
in Gaza,
en Gaza
and for the entire world.
y por todo el mundo entero.
Oseh Shalom Bimramav Hu Yahaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'ale Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'Kol Yisrael. Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'Kol Yisrael. Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'Kol Yisrael. Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Please be seated. All of us, I'm sure, have been following the events going on in Israel since October the 7th. And today, I have invited Lori Gaman to be with us she was in Israel when this happened, and we were, with many others, probably a couple of hundred people were texting you and corresponding with you and trying to give you support and whatever we could give you from a long distance.
We felt it.
And so I've asked her to come here today, and to tell us what it was like there, and her impressions about it, and then we'll have a few questions.
Estoy seguro que todos estamos enterados de lo que está pasando en Israel desde octubre 7 y por eso mismo hemos invitado a Lori Gaman. Ella se encontraba en Israel con su familia y va a venir a platicarnos qué fue lo que pasó en su estancia ahí.
Thank you for having me here, Rabbi, to talk about my experience in Israel. Some of you, I see a few familiar faces, may have heard some of the things that I've already said in a few other talks. I've become very famous. I've been on the news a lot, little unwanted notoriety. So the accounts haven't changed a little bit, so I'm sorry for the repetitiveness.
Lori, I'm going to ask you if you could allow Iron.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Oh,
We have it worked out.
oh, thank you.
But what of course has changed is the intensity of the war, and really the feelings of hate that we're seeing across the country, across the world really, for disdain of Jews. And so I'm hoping that maybe after I talk, we can all talk a little bit about how you're feeling, because I think it helps us when we can all unite in our feelings and the commonalities that we have.
Lori está muy agradecida por haberle invitado aquí para poder platicar su historia y espera ella que al final de su historia poder recibir las preguntas y tener una conversación sobre todo lo que está pasando.
So, visiting Israel. I always tell people that visiting Israel should be on everybody's bucket list. Every time that I have been, I felt this really amazing connection to our people, to our heritage, to our culture. Everything that I grew up knowing to be important, you get to see for your own eyes when you go to Israel. And I'm sure that those of you who have been to Israel will also say that it's just truly a life-changing experience. This trip to Israel was a little bit more life-changing than we were expecting, unfortunately. But I hope that there are going to be some important lessons that I can share that I learned while I was there during this time.
Ella comenta que durante su visita a Israel, que ella quisiera que toda la gente tuviera eso en sus planes para el futuro. Se encuentra uno en una área donde se siente bienvenida y la conexión con sus antepasados y todo lo que se conoce durante su vida. El amor de la cultura y el agradecimiento en toda la gente que está alrededor, y ha sido una experiencia que le ha cambiado su vida, y ella siente que no importa de qué religión estén ahí, todas están representadas en Israel.
So we originally went because my father, who is 84 years old, had never been to Israel. And my sister and I have been multiple times. And when he said that he wanted to go, we said, let's do it, and we were just quick to jump on it for us to be able to go as a family. We planned an amazing trip. Things that we had never even done before in our times there, and then of course all of the obligatory things that a first-timer must do and see when they go to Israel.
Este viaje lo planeamos porque mi padre quería ir, padre de ella, y cuando mi hermana y yo escuchamos que él deseaba ir a Israel, luego empezamos a planear, y queríamos que fuera una experiencia magnífica, y incluso planeamos cosas que nosotras mismas no habíamos experimentado, y teníamos muchos planes para mi papá.
So we left on October 2nd with all of our spouses, And we flew, obviously we landed in Tel Aviv, but we went to Shaharut, which is a town in the south of Israel, about a 40-minute drive from Eilat, which now I hear today that Eilat was unfortunately in the line of fire. We wanted to just get used to the time change, just have a few days to relax before we were going to start this amazing whirlwind tour in Israel.
Llegamos en octubre 2 con toda nuestra familia, nuestros esposos, y llegamos a Shaharut en el sur de Israel, que está a 40 minutos que íbamos a empezar nuestra jornada. Queríamos llegar con tiempo para acostumbrarnos al cambio del tiempo.
There we visited a kibbutz in Kibbutz Lotan. It's a Reformed Jewish kibbutz that specializes in ecology, and we stargazed, we pampered ourselves with all kinds of really incredible body treatments, and we toasted every night to just being together and being so excited to be one day closer to seeing the country of Israel.
Llegamos a Kibbutz, que es una área de que es judía reforma, y ahí nos dejamos consentir bastante, pudimos ver las estrellas, y cada día que estuvimos ahí quisimos brindar por estar juntos.
So we were there for 3 days, and then we headed back to Tel Aviv, and we had a private guide, Itan, who picked us up at the airport, and he took us straight to a falafel stand so we could have lunch, because of course you have to eat falafel when you go to Israel. We also went to go visit the Ayalon Institute, which is an underground ammunition factory that operated during the Independence War. And then he dropped us off at the Shuk, because we just had a couple of hours left before the Shuk would be closing for Shabbat. And we wanted to pick up a couple of little goodies. And our plan was, as he said goodbye, I'll see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll pick you up, and we're going to see the sights and sounds of Joppa and Tel Aviv.
Después de 3 días nos dirigimos a Tel Aviv en octubre 6, donde teníamos nuestro propio guía turística Eitan, y nos puso a que comiéramos falafel porque son muy populares en Israel, todo el mundo debe de tenerlas si van para allá, y también fueron a ver el underground ammunition, es subterráneo, ajá, y donde estuvieron la independencia de la guerra, y el plan era que nos iba a recoger al día siguiente a las 10 de la mañana, y así fue como quedamos con él.
So unfortunately, the next morning we awoke to sirens at about 6:30 in the morning, and we never got to start our whirlwind tour of Israel. When we first heard them, we were so caught off guard. We didn't even really know what it was. I mean, I think we knew what it was, but we just were shocked. I kind of threw on a robe. I looked outside in the hall, it was empty. Nobody was rushing to evacuate or anything like that. So go back in the room, and about 15 minutes later, we were thinking it was a false alarm maybe. And about 15 minutes later, another siren occurred. So we said, I think we better call the front desk and find out what's going on. And sure enough, they said, yes, these are indeed real alerts. You need to go to the safe room on your floor, which was either the maid's linen closet, because it had no windows, or the stairwell. And so by the time, I talked to the front desk and we went outside, there was an Israeli family that was coming back from the safe room. And the Israelis have on their phones an app, a red alert app, that informs them of incoming activity. And it also gives them the all clear signs when it's safe to go back. So they were going back to the room. They said it was safe for us to go back to our rooms. So we did, and we turned on the news and started really learning of the atrocities that were taking place just 30 miles from us.
Desafortunadamente al día siguiente nos levantamos y empezamos a escuchar la sirena Pensamos primero que era una falsa alarma. Después de ahí a los 15 minutos volvió a sonar, y entonces fue cuando decidimos hablar a las oficinas del hotel, y ahí fue cuando nos dijeron que cuando escuchan las sirenas pueden irse a un cuarto de seguridad, que es donde están ya sea la gente de limpieza o donde son las escaleras, que no hay ventanas que haya vista para adentro. Cuando se dirigían para ir al cuarto de seguridad, había una familia israelí que estaba saliendo y diciendo que era seguro. Todas las familias en Israel tienen una aplicación en su teléfono que les da las alertas, y es como se manejan y se comunican.
So shortly after those alerts, we got a call from Tom, our guide. And he said, I'm not quite sure what's going on today, but I'm thinking that maybe we shouldn't go out at 10 o'clock in the morning this morning. Let's go out a little later. Shortly thereafter, he called back and he said, I'm not sure we should go out at all today. And that turned into him calling back a third time saying, I think you all need to make plans to leave the country tomorrow.
Después de que regresamos a nuestro cuarto, nuestra guía turística nos habló y nos dijo, no estoy seguro qué está pasando, vamos a tratar de no salir ahorita a las 10 de la mañana, pero tal vez a las 12 del mediodía. Después nos volvió a hablar y nos informó que tal vez era mejor que nosotros arregláramos para regresar a nuestro país, y que no era seguro que estuvieran ahí.
And I think this is an important line that I didn't say. He said, this is different. This is different than any other, normal skirmishes that Israel has. And that was why he felt we should leave the country.
Cuando su guía les habló, sí les mencionó, esto es diferente, no es como otros eventos que han pasado, creo que se tienen que alistar para salir del país.
So all of this occurred before noon. So we put on our bathing suits, because what else were we going to do? And we went down to the pool with our papers, with our airline confirmation numbers, our airline insurance numbers, just went down to the pool with our phones and started making phone calls to Delta Airlines. That was the airline that we flew in on. And to change our flights and to leave. And we were very successful. They changed our flights. We were scheduled to leave the next day, but as we all know now, those rescheduled flights canceled, just kind of like a trickle effect, one by one by one. And so let me just see. So as we're sitting at the pool, it was just surreal. We're seeing an increasing number of helicopters flying back and forth. We're hearing jets and seeing the smoke from the jets going back and forth. We're hearing bombs. We could actually hear the bombs from a distance. We never really saw fire or smoke from the bombs, but we could sure hear them. And we would talk to the other guests, a lot of Israeli guests, and just started kind of learning their stories. And then there would be another siren. So we would all get up and we would run from the pool to the safe space. We learned that we had about 90 seconds. Whenever these alarms occurred, we had 90 seconds to get to a safe space. And so, and their little app actually alerted them before we heard the actual siren. So when they got up to run, we would get up to run. We would experience, I think, 2 more sirens later that afternoon and early evening. And we kind of, to lighten the mood, we joked about how many exercise steps we were getting in going down the stairs to the parking garage.
Entonces decidimos irnos al área de la alberca con toda nuestra información, con nuestros teléfonos, para hacer los cambios de los vuelos, que sí lo logramos hacer, pero desafortunadamente nos encontramos con la experiencia de que los estuvieron cancelando. Ahí mismo, cuando estábamos en la alberca, conocimos a otras familias israelíes y a ellos se les mandaba el mensaje en su aplicación. Entonces, cuando ellos salían corriendo, nosotros nos íbamos junto con ellos.
So in the stairwell, we met some observant Jews who were not able to use their phone because it was Shabbat. And they really sought us out throughout the day just to see if they could get more news about what was really going on. And often they would even direct us to some of their local news channels. But after Shabbat, when they could use their phones and they were able to call their families, they learned that 2 of their sons had already been called up from the reserves. One of those sons had a week-old baby at home. Can you imagine leaving for war with a week-old baby? It just gave me chills on my arms. You know, we would have completely freaked out here at home in the United States, but not them. It was just understood that they would go and help and serve their country. It was just their responsibility, and they were more than willing to do so. So I have a life-changing lesson from this story, and that is that the Israeli people are so strong and resilient, and their patriotism is unsurpassed. Everyone sacrifices, everyone pitches in, and imagine if we had that kind of a united front in our country.
Cuando estábamos en la área de las escaleras conocimos a otra familia que ellos no podían usar la aplicación porque no podían usar sus teléfonos porque se reservan en el día de Shabbat, y venían hacia nosotros y nos decían qué noticiero escuchar para estar informados. Cuando por fin ellos podían escuchar y comunicarse con sus familias, una de ellas, sus 2 hijos tenían que estar yéndose al llamado del Army, de los soldados, y uno de ellos acababa de tener un bebé de 1 semana y se estaba yendo a la guerra. Y una de las lecciones que me deja esto es de que la gente de Israel son tan fuertes y resilientes que su patriotismo es totalmente increíble. Se sacrifican y todos ponen de su parte. Entonces yo me imagino si aquí en Estados Unidos tuviéramos un país que fuera así tan unido.
So for our safety, we were advised that we should not leave the hotel. If a raid were to occur, we wouldn't know where we could get to a safe space in 90 seconds. So we just hunkered down in the confines of our hotel, where oddly, we felt we were very comfortable. Our worst problem was when we ran out of Gold Star beer and Diet Coke. And really we felt relatively safe because by this time we were familiar with our hotel. We knew exactly where we needed to go when these sirens were going off. And so we just focused our attention on trying to get out anywhere we could in any country that we could. When Etan called us, he said, you know, these are some of the things that you need to know what to do. Go to the safe space. We also had to sign up with the embassy so that they would know that we were here, and if we were thinking that we were probably going to have to be evacuated by the embassy because we were not having any luck getting flights out of the country. We signed up. They have a safe traveler enrollment program that we signed up with. We contacted our legislators to urge them to have the United States get Americans out of the country, because as we were seeing the increasing military action taking place, we knew that each day that we were there, it was getting more and more dangerous for us to be able to get out safely. We had to pack an emergency bag with just like a change of clothes, so that if we had to leave, all of a sudden we could, you know, at least take that. I actually thought about sleeping in my clothes every night because I was afraid that maybe, you know, we would have to evacuate at night. But then I settled on just sleeping in my robe and my nightgown, because I figured, who hasn't seen a Jewish mom in their robe and nightgown? And we started calling. We were hearing from the people that were getting out, that they were getting out on El Al Airlines, and so we started focusing on looking at their website and seeing where were they flying to that day, or where were they flying to the next day, what times were they, and we were looking for 2 tickets at a time, for Alan and me, for my dad and his wife, and for my sister and her husband, so that we would always be with a buddy. And we just started going down and filling in, our names. Okay, this one's going to Prague. We would fill it all in, we'd put our card in, and we'd put purchase, and of course it was gone. And so finally, we did find 2 to Prague. My father and his wife Jeannie flew out on Tuesday, Saturday to Tuesday. And then my sister and her husband and Alan and I finally found flights to Budapest. And while we were doing that, I had Lenore Coburn here working on flights for us from those, whichever country we could find. I think that the saddest part about this was, or the most emotional part for Alan and me during this time, was we were told that we needed to send pictures of our passports to our kids. Should something happen to us, they would be able to be in touch with the embassy.
Por los siguientes días estuvimos experimentando y viendo cómo había mucha actividad, helicópteros, aviones, y estábamos a gusto en el hotel, estábamos cómodos, pero teníamos que constantemente estar buscando vuelos para poder salir afuera. Buscábamos si íbamos a Budapest y a Praga, y nos estábamos contactando con nuestros legisladores para que ayudaran a salirnos de Israel, a los americanos, y lo más triste que nos sucedió fue que nos pidieron que les mandáramos fotos a nuestros hijos de nuestros pasaportes en caso de que nos llegara a pasar algo. Entonces estábamos en constante peligro, y después de eso fue lo que me hizo realizar y me hizo sentir muy triste.
So we met, like I was saying earlier, we met so many Israelis and learned so many stories as we were in and out of the bomb shelters with them, and some of them were very horrific stories. So the life-changing lesson that I learned for this was that we just not to take anything for granted, and just how lucky and fortunate we are. We were not in the best of situations. We were stuck, but we were safe. And so many in Israel are not safe, are not as blessed, and things are far worse for them. So no pity party for us.
Cuando estábamos en los lugares donde podíamos conocer a otras familias de Israel, ahí realmente aprendimos otras historias de terror que ellos habían pasado. La lección de vida que aprendí es de que no hay que dar nada por hecho, sino que sentirnos afortunados, y que a veces no estamos en las mejores situaciones y que estamos atorados, pero estamos seguros. Y en Israel no están seguros y tan bendecidos, y pueden las cosas ponerse en un momento que están bien, ponerse muy mal.
So a group of 17 families from Sderot checked into our hotel. You all have probably seen many of the news correspondents broadcasting from Sderot. Am I pronouncing that right? Sderot. They're broadcasting from there now, and I think that I've just learned that a good 90% of the citizens of that city have now fled. But my sister and I were in the lobby when they came. Some of them were hugging and crying as they were coming in. And one of the women came up to us, my sister and me, and was kind of frantically asking, "Do you all know a doctor? We need a psychiatrist to talk about the trauma that we've just been through." And they fled. They had to flee their homes amidst rocket fire, amidst gunfire, amidst, you know, people coming into their community. And it was just utter chaos, they said. And, you know, we know that nobody was spared the brutality of this invasion. Women, children, infants, the elderly, just because they were Jewish. So, amazingly enough, amazing, I mean, you just wouldn't believe the fortitude of these families. And when we were in the bomb shelter, these women would start chanting, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, to just give the people, and the kids especially, to not let them be frightened. Oh, so, well, go ahead.
Cuando estábamos ahí en el hotel, nos tocó ver a un grupo de 17 familias llegando al hotel de Sderot, que es un pueblo pequeño y que está en el borde de Gaza. Y nos dimos cuenta que llegaron y estaban todos abrazándose y agradecidos de estar ahí, pero una de las mamás se acercó a nosotros a pedirnos ayuda si conocíamos a alguien que les pudiera dar ayuda psiquiátrica por el trauma que acababan de vivir, que habían dejado su hogar. Y entonces era muy conmovedor verlos y que estaban tan agradecidos que estaban en un lugar seguro, pero estaban aterrorizados de todo lo que habían visto, el caos y las explosiones, y saber que todos fueron atacados, incluyendo bebés, niños, adolescentes, madres y padres y gente adulta. Y cuando nos juntábamos todos en la área de donde era seguro, ellas empezaban a cantar
Am Yisrael Chai.
Am Yisrael Chai, y era una manera de darles un conforte a las familias.
So the life-changing lesson that I take away here is that there is still so much hatred for Jews and prevalent anti-Semitism in our world. And we in El Paso are somewhat isolated from it. But I think it's important for us to know that it is alive, it is thriving, and it is spreading. And Israel is not the aggressor. The Jews are not the aggressor by proxy. And even the Palestinians are not the aggressors. Hamas is the aggressor. And I think that needs to be our message. We simply all need to recognize the existence of anti-Semitism, not fall prey to the rhetoric and propaganda of the deniers, and do everything in our power to confront and stop it. We need to be calling for days of peace for all peoples, not for days of rage.
Y la lección de vida que me llevo con esto es de que me doy cuenta que hay muchísimo odio para nosotros los judíos, hay un antisemitismo muy fuerte en todo el mundo, que nosotros aquí en El Paso tal vez estamos un poco alejados de eso. De todos modos, esto es real, es fuerte y se expande. Israel no es el agresor, los judíos no son los agresores y los palestinos no son los agresores. Creo que son todos víctimas. Jamás es el agresor, y creo que ese debe de ser el mensaje. Tenemos que reconocer que existe el antisemitismo y que tenemos que hacer que esta propaganda sea denegada y hacer un llamado de paz para todas las razas y la gente.
One man with a dog in tow and a gun strapped to his belt, which of course my husband Alan Gaman had to ask if he had one, that if this guy had one he could loan him while we were there, told us how Hamas had actually pounded on his door. And he put furniture in front of his door to barricade himself inside. And waited quietly until they left. He was just one of the lucky ones. He was lucky that they didn't kill him. He was lucky that they didn't burn his house down with him inside. Would the gun have made any difference? Or, he kind of shrugged and said he had a few other words, but what I will say, he was going to fight like heck. So the life-changing lesson that I take away is that the Israeli people are amazingly brave. We should all be so brave and handle adversity with such level-headedness.
Conocimos a un hombre que traía a su perro y traía en su cinto una pistola. Y claro, mi esposo Alan le preguntó que si no traía otra para él. Y él nos contó que como los Hamas estuvo en su puerta. Él puso muebles enfrente de su puerta para poder detenerlos y esperó en silencio hasta que se fueron. Él fue uno de los pocos afortunados de los que no le rompieron la puerta para entrar y se pudo salvar de ser atacado. Pero él dijo, si ellos hubieran entrado, yo los hubiera atacado con todo lo que es mi ser. Y lo que esta lección me da de esta historia de este hombre es que la gente de Israel es impresionantemente brave, valiente, que todos nosotros deberíamos de ser así de valientes ante la adversidad con mucha inteligencia.
So the bartender was at our hotel. We spent a lot of time at the bar. We learned her story too. She was 21 years old. She had just finished her military duty in April. And she was just very solemn every night because she felt bad. She wanted to be fighting with her friends. And one night we went down there and she had a smile on her face. We're like, what's going on? You seem to be a little happier tonight. She goes, I get to go and report back tomorrow. So the life-changing lesson that I take away with this is one of amazing dedication and work ethic. We should all be so willing to go the extra mile.
Pasamos bastante tiempo en la barra del hotel y ahí estaba la señorita que nos atendía de 21 años y nos contó que ella había completado su servicio de militar en abril y ella se veía molesta y decía que ella quería estar con sus amigos sirviendo y poder pelear contra el adversor. Y un día que volvimos en la noche notamos que ella tenía una sonrisa en su cara y nos dijo que se regresaba al día siguiente para pelear junto con sus compañeros. Y la lección de vida que me da es que la gente en Israel es tan dedicada y tienen una ética de unión y trabajo que todos deberíamos de tenerla y estar dispuestos a ir esa milla extra.
So there are so many more stories that I could share with you, but I'm going to end with this one. At breakfast on our last morning, there was a little 4-year-old boy that came running into the restaurant with his mom and his little sister, and he ran straight to a table and went to go hug this woman whom I thought was probably his grandmother. And she pointed to all the other people around. This was one of the Sderot families. And she pointed to all the people around her table, and he runs over and gives everybody a hug. And I was just smiling at how cute he was and just admiring them. And she saw me smiling at them, and she pointed over to me. So I put out my arms, and here he runs and gives me just the biggest hug. Felt so good. And I think you all know what this last life-changing lesson is that we all need to hug each other a lot more.
La última historia, tengo muchísimas historias, pero la última historia con la que me voy es que en el desayuno en la mañana me tocó experimentar a un niño de 4 años que venía de una de las familias de Sderot. Y saludó a su abuelita, creo que era su abuelita, y la abuelita le estuvo apuntando a toda la gente que estaba alrededor de la mesa, y el niño iba y abrazaba a cada uno con una felicidad, y yo los estaba mirando y estaba sonriendo, estaba muy contenta de ver esa experiencia. Entonces la señora me vio a mí y me apuntó, y entonces el niño vino y me abrazó, y entonces me tocó un abrazo. Y entonces la lección de vida que me da esta es de que tal vez todos nos debemos de abrazar.
It's making me cry still too. So, as Rabbi was saying, there were so many people from El Paso here that were, sending us texts, calling, posting on our Facebook, praying. And I just want you all to know that we did feel, every single one of you all, thinking of us, and it really helped us get through the situation that we were in. I know that your concern, all of our concerns, has taken on a little bit of a different face now as things have escalated. And again, I welcome us to talk about it. If anybody has any questions, I think that there are probably some other people in this room who are much wiser than me that might have some better words of comfort or wisdom or whatever. But just whatever you'd like to share.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
Good, yeah. I have a question about y'all being in the hotel and then everybody having to go into the linen closet. Did you find that there was enough space to accommodate
So
everybody, or was every floor had a different linen
Every
closet?
floor had their own linen closet or a stairwell. So for the majority of the time when all of these sirens were going off, we weren't on our floor. I think maybe only once or twice we were on our floor. So yes, there was plenty of room for whomever was on our floor. But for the most part, we were either in the lobby or we were at the pool, and we would run to the stairwell, which would take us down to the parking garage. And the staff was very good. They had bottles of water that they would pass out as we were going on. And people were, you think that in a panic type situation that people would be shoving, people would be pushing. It was very orderly. You would help somebody who had a stroller. You would help, a person that had to leave their wheelchair maybe on the landing, the stair landing. It was, and we weren't in there. I know a lot of people think, oh my gosh, you spent your whole time in the bomb shelter. It was 10 or 15 minutes at a time. And then you would go back out and you would go do what you were doing, and boom, it would happen again, and you would go back again.
La pregunta fue que si la área donde los ponían para estar más seguros eran bastante grandes, y Lori dice que sí, que eran bastante grandes, y sorprendida sobre el orden de que toda la gente llevaba, nadie me estaba empujando, ni parecía que estuviéramos en pánico, y todo el mundo nos ayudaba. Si había alguien que trajera una carriola, se le ayudaba con el niño para estar en el área seguro, y ya después era como un hábito de salir y venir sin ningún problema. Allá atrás hay una.
Just wondering if you were allowed to travel anywhere or take some of your trip.
We were told not to leave our hotel, so we really did stay in our hotel for those 6 days. There was one day when we were considering, Alan's shaking his head now. We were considering going up north because we thought that, the action was taking place more south, and so we thought if we went north up to the Tiberias region that it could be safer for us. And no sooner did we get that thought in our head then we started hearing on the news how Hezbollah was attacking on the border of Lebanon. So we chose not to do that. I will say that our guide Itan is still not home. He lives right on the border of Lebanon, and his neighborhood was evacuated pretty quickly.
La pregunta es si era posible viajar a otros lados y sí pensamos viajar hacia el norte, pero pronto nos dimos cuenta de que no era seguro, así que seguimos intentando otras opciones. Y sabemos que nuestro guía turística Ethan todavía no está. ¿Is he safe or not?
He's safe, but he's not at home. He's
Ya no se encuentra en casa y está seguro, pero tuvieron que evacuar la casa, su familia ayer.
Javier?
What was your initial feeling upon hearing the very first siren?
It was disbelief. We knew what it was, but we're like, what do we do? It was just like disbelief. Like, was that what we think it is? And, you just don't expect that.
La pregunta es, ¿cuál fue su sentimiento cuando escuchó la primera sirena? Ella dice que estaba sin creer que era lo que estaban escuchando, no pensaba que era una falsa alarma.
Someone from Mexico thanking you for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you. You know what? It's a little therapeutic. I really appreciate you having me. Thank you. I think it's important for us all to really know that this is taking place. Anybody else? Anybody have any, just a general statement about what's happening and how you all are feeling?
I'll reserve mine when I talk about the Torah portion because it's related, I believe.
So, I actually did have a little ending that I just want to
Go
say.
ahead.
That I think it's important. May we pray for peace and strength for all in Israel and the region. May we pray for tolerance and understanding. May we pray for healing of body and mind for all of those who have been affected by this tragic event. And may we pray for the day to come when we live in a peaceful and friendly world with lots of hugs and love for one another.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
At this time, I think it's appropriate that we offer the prayer for the state of Israel, which is in our booklet. And for those that can, please rise. You'll find it on page 5.
Página 5 para rezar por Israel.
And I think following Lori's suggestion, maybe after the prayer we should all hug each other. Navinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Sur Yisrael v'gohalo, Avinu, Oy Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Sur Yisrael v'gohalo, Barech, Barech, et Medinat Yisrael, Reishit Smichat Aleinu, Hagen Alehem, Behevrat Chazdechem, Ufros Aleha, Sukkot Shalom Echem, Avinu, Oy Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Sur Yisrael v'gohalo, Avinu, Avinu, Sheba Shamayim, Sur Yisrael v'gohalo, Ushlach orcha V'yotzeha, 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 v'takneim b'yitzah tovam, milfanecha, v'takneim b'yitzah tovam, milfanecha. Avinu, Avinu, Shebashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'gohalo. Avinu, Avinu, Shebashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'gohalo. Chazek, 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 chazek et yidei migin eretz kodshenu, v'hamechi eleim, Eloheinu, Yeshua, Yeshua, v'yateret nitzachon, tiyahatreim, chazek, chazek, chazek et yedei Rosham, chazek et yedei Sarah, v'yateret nitzachon, tiatreim, tiatreim, v'natata shalom, shalom, ba'aretz, v'simchat olam, liyoshveha. Avinu, Avinu, Shebashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'gohalo. Avinu, Avinu, Shebashamayim, Sur Yisrael v'gohalo. Sur Yisrael v'gohalo. V'nomar, v'nomar, amen. Let's hug each other.
I want to come give you a hug. I'll take it. Thank you for sharing your story.
So I see you.
Just to see what's happening. Police officer and so I know exactly. I
So you said be united, but then it's this dichotomy of like you're not united, but
But he can do a So you know what, you have to smoke your chayah from what they're doing. It scares the living daylights out of me too.
So,
She rubbed the top of
when you're finished hugging, after we should finish hugging, we're going to move forward with our service, and we're going to change a little bit today.
Vamos a continuar con el servicio.
All right, so
I agree about the government though.
we're going to move along. And instead of taking out the Torah and we're going to study the Torah a bit, you'll find the Torah reading for this Shabbat afternoon. It's different from the one that was read this morning in synagogues. It's the afternoon Torah reading. You'll find it in Hebrew. It's in the back section on page 1. It's after the conclusion of havdala, which is on 20. So after page 20, there's a page 1, and it says Torah reading for chayah Sarah. You'll find it in Hebrew on 1, and in English and Spanish on page 2.
Vamos a la página 1 después de la página 20 para estudiar el Torah.
The name of the Torah portion is chayah Sarah, which means the life of Sarah. But the Torah reading actually talks about the death of Sarah. And that from the very beginning is one of the differences between the way Israel and we as a people consider life. Yeah. There's a lot there, right? All right. Well, we could just go on. They got the gist of that. It says in the very first verse, Vayihiyu chayah Sarah 100 shana v'yesrim shana v'sheva shanim shnei chayah Sarah, which means, and listen to how it's written in the Torah. It says, and the life of Sarah was 100 years, and 20 years, and 7 years, the years of the life of Sarah. Now, one mention of death and dividing her life into different periods of her existence. When she was 100, when she was 20, and when she was 7.
En el Torah explican que la vida de Sara estuvo de 127 años, pero es lo que está explicando el Torah durante la etapa de la vida de Sara.
As you look in this room, you will see babies, you'll see kids, you'll see toddlers, you'll see older people, people of all different ages. And what we as Jews learn is that every single moment of our life is precious and sacred.
Aquí en esta área podemos ver niños, adolescentes y adultos y debemos de apreciar la vida de todos.
And yet, when we think of what happened on October 7th,
Y así como vemos lo que pasó en octubre 7,
the killing, the murder, the butchering, the burning alive by Hamas did not discriminate against age. They killed babies, they killed toddlers, they murdered and burnt alive older people, pregnant women. It didn't matter because life, the life of these people, of our people, was not precious to them.
y la cruel matanza que ocurrió en octubre 7, que jamás vino y mató y quemó a personas, no discriminó a nadie, a bebés, a niños, a adultos y a ancianos, los quemó vivos.
And then the story goes on to tell us how Abraham, the first Hebrew, buries Sarah in Hebron in the cave of Machpelah.
Entonces aquí en el Torah vemos como Abraham enterró a Sara
In the cave of Machpelah.
En la cueva de Macpela.
en la,
Cueva de Macpela.
en la cueva de Macpela.
Those people that were on the last trip to Israel with me came to Hebron, where also Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are buried. Sarah, Rebecca, and Leah are buried. Rachel is buried in Rachel's tomb near Bethlehem.
Y ahí donde todos estuvieron muertos y están enterrados.
Okay. And the point I'm trying to make here is that this land was a part of the Jewish people more than 1,700 years before there was an Islam. And the claim that the land, that this is all about land, is nonsense. That's a political claim once the state of Israel was established. But the history of all Judaism, Christianity, and Islam knows that this was the land that God promised to Abraham, to our people forever. Doesn't mean other people can't live there, but it also means that the Jewish people must always live there.
El punto que quiere hacer el rabino es de que la gente judía es su tierra prometida de Israel.
As a religious Jew, what am I supposed to do? Say that God never promised? The first words that God said to the first Hebrew was, Lech lecha me'artzecha mimolatecha mibeit avicha el haaretz asher areka. Leave your home. And where was he living? In Iraq, in Mesopotamia. You're not going to be the father of a great nation there. You're going to go to the land that I will show you, and there I will make of you a great nation, and all of the nations of the world will be blessed through you. Those that bless you will be blessed. Those that curse you will be cursed.
Y ellos fueron mandados directamente por Dios y les dijo, aquí no es, vayan a donde les estoy apuntando, que era Israel.
So let's put aside this idea that Israel somehow stole land, that it wasn't promised, it wasn't part of it.
Hay que quitarnos la idea de que Israel no es nuestra tierra prometida.
As Lori said, what we're feeling today has nothing to do with land. It has to do with hatred, because there is a Jewish state in the Middle East surrounded by Arab nations that don't want a Jewish state to be there.
Y como lo mencionó Lori, no se trata de la tierra, sino el odio contra los judíos.
And we were in the middle of a peace process with several Arab nations, besides Jordan and Egypt, that were ready, not because they necessarily wanted to, but they were ready to accept that there will be a Jewish state and that they will take part and trade with that Jewish state and benefit from that Jewish state. It was all going on until October 7th.
Y estábamos en el medio de firmar un contrato de paz y todo pasó en octubre 7.
And Hamas, which has in its charter the destruction of not only Israel but the Jewish people, caused all of this to start with the most vicious atrocities in the history of our people.
Y jamás tuvo este plan para venir a atacarnos y herir a nuestra gente.
The Jewish people was chosen by God for one reason only, and that was called Tikkun Olam, to make this a better world.
Dios escogió a los judíos con un solo motivo, que es Tikkun Olam, para poder hacer este mundo mejor.
Wasn't working with Adam and Eve.
No funcionó con Adán y Eva.
Look what happened at the time of Noah. The whole world was evil, and God had to destroy the whole world except for Noah and his family.
Recuerden lo que pasó con Noah, que tuvo que venir Dios y destruir todo el mundo porque todo el mundo estaba mal.
One reason only, because Abraham was going to be the first Hebrew, and he was going to give us a set of laws by which to live.
Porque Abraham iba a ser el primero en darnos las reglas de cómo vivir.
And whatever our enemies will try to do to us, we will never forget God's promise to us.
Y lo que nuestros enemigos quieran destruirnos, nosotros siempre recordaremos las enseñanzas de nuestro Dios.
And that is to repair the world and to bring peace to the world.
Y eso es reparar el mundo y traer paz al mundo.
And that will be our goal. And one day, all of us together,
Y esa es nuestra meta. Y un día todos juntos,
despite the enemies historically that tried to destroy us,
aunque estén estos enemigos que tratan de destruirnos,
look at our Anu synagogue, for example. What happened prior to 1492? Jewish people were burnt alive at the stake. This wasn't on October 7th. This was for centuries. We were burnt alive at the stake. Children killed. There were pregnant women that the church found a way to end their pregnancy. A church that preaches against abortion were killing fetuses of Jewish pregnant women. People were tortured with the worst torture devices, even some worse than the Nazis. And for one reason, to eradicate Judaism from the world.
fíjense en lo que está pasando, simplemente nuestro centro Anusim. No nada más pasó en octubre 7, pasó hace muchos años, donde la iglesia vino y nos torturaba, mataba a mujeres embarazadas con tal de terminar con nuestras creencias.
And so we say to the world today,
Y lo que les decimos al mundo hoy,
as we conclude the Sabbath and go to the weekday,
así como concluimos el Sabbat y vamos a nuestra semana,
we move from the mode of Shabbat Shalom
nos movemos de nuestro momento de Shabbat Shalom
to Shavua Tov,
a Shavua Tov,
to a good week.
para tener una buena semana.
And it is our hope and our prayer and all together
Y es nuestro deseo y nuestra esperanza que todos juntos,
we will bring that day
que traeremos ese día
of world peace to humanity.
de paz a nuestra humanidad.
We will never stoop to the level of those that have tried to destroy us.
Nunca estaremos en el nivel de esos que trataron de destruirnos.
The prophet said, Or Goyim, we will be a light unto the nations.
Seremos la luz ante todas las naciones.
And that's who we are.
Y eso es lo que somos.
And that's who we will always be.
Y eso es lo que siempre seremos.
It's because of all of us together.
Porque todos nosotros estamos juntos.
And with that, let's move on to the havdala service.
Vamos a continuar con el servicio del havdala.
The havdala service, very quickly, is also a distinction between the Sabbath and the weekday. You'll notice we have one candle made up of many wicks. On the Sabbath, we have two separate candles to separate the Sabbath from the weekday. On havdala, we have many candles joined together because we're joining the weekday.
En Havdala juntamos varias velas para tener todos los días juntos.
Cup of wine is a symbol of sanctity and joy.
La copa de vino es símbolo de santidad.
And as difficult as it is today, that wine does bring us joy because we are optimistic that from all of this, there will be a world of peace.
Y ese vino, aunque sea difícil, estamos en un ambiente de optimismo de que todo esto pasará.
And we will inhale those spices so that the spirit of the Sabbath, the spirit of peace, will remain with us from one week to the next.
Y vamos a aspirar las especies para que la paz esté con nosotros.
So let us, those that can, rise now for the havdala ceremony.
De pie
Thomas,
para
could you bring
celebrar
those
el
things over here?
havdala.
And can I get, yeah. And you'll hold the candle? Okay. Will you light the candle for me? Thank you. Hine Yeshua Tievtach V'lo Echad Ki Aziv Zimratya Adonai Vayehi Li Yeshua Ushavet Hemayim B'Saxon Mi Mayinei HaYeshua L'Adonai HaYeshua Alamcha Birchatecha Selam Adonai Tzavodim Alam Miskav Lanu Elohei Yaakov Selam Adonai Tzvod Ashrei Adam Boteach Bach Adonai Hoshea Melech Yaneinu B'Yom Kareinu La Yehudim Hayatal Rav Simcha V'Zachon Vikar Kain Tielanu Kos Yeshua Tesa U'V'Shem Adonai Yakra Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Borei Peri Hagafen Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Borei Minei V'Samim. Take a smell. Pass that around. Everybody inhale so that spirit remains with us. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Hamavdil ben Kodesh L'chol Ben Or L'choshech Ben Yisrael Yamim Ben Yom HaShvi'i L'Sheshet Yemei HaMaseh Baruch Atah Adonai Hamavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. See if you can put that out. We take the full cup of wine, which is overflowing with sanctity and joy, and we extinguish the light into that fire, so again, the spirit of Shabbat remains with us. Shavua Tov, 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 Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishvi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Bimhera B'Yaminu, Yavo Eloheinu, Imashiach ben David, Imashiach ben David. Before we partake, by the way, you're all invited to partake of a Sudah following our services. And I just wanted to make a couple of really brief announcements. I asked our federation, Jewish El Paso, what the best way we could help financially Israel. The suggestion that was made by the executive director, Marla Cohn, was to contribute to the JFNA, the Jewish Federations of North America. If you want to make contributions and make out checks or something like that to us here, we will make sure that it will go there. But you can also find that on the website, our local federation, or whatever. But everybody tonight, let's each one make a pledge and really help out. Israel is really in need of our support and our help, and that would be great. The second announcement is our second class for Bar and Bar Mitzvah and those wanting to learn Hebrew. Our next class will be a week from tomorrow. That would be November the 12th. We're meeting at the Federation from 2 to 3:30. Any kids that have not had a bar mitzvah and have not been going to another place. We're not competing with anyone. We're just offering for those who are not going anywhere else to have a place where they can have those lessons given. And any more announcements, Blanca? Yes?
So tomorrow there is an event happening for the greater Jewish community. Anyone that would like to attend, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be all singing a song together. There is an Israeli musical initiative called Kululam, and what they do is they try to get people from all over the world to sing together. And so what they're doing is we've organized an initiative to sing a song. It's Madonna's Like a Prayer. We're going to be singing it together, and then Kululam is going to compile the song from the El Paso community as well as over hundreds from around the world into a video that is specifically designated to encourage bringing home the hostages that are in Gaza. The video will also include all of the families of the hostages will be singing as well. So what we're doing is we're meeting tomorrow at Temple Mount Sinai at 2 o'clock from 2 to 3:30. It's about an hour and a half. You don't need to have singing experience, just the passion to want to sing in a positive, cathartic experience with your fellow Jews and supporters of Israel. We'll learn the song and sing it. It will be recorded and then sent to this initiative, Kululam, who will compile it with people from all around the world to bring home hopefully bring home the hostages. So if you'd like, tomorrow, Sunday from 2 to 3:30 at Temple Mount Sinai. Please join us.
Please, everybody. And I have one last part. My good friend Grace Rendell from the Christian television station wanted to be here, but she's out of town. And we are going to be working on something I think is really important in this community we haven't had. I haven't heard too much from the Christian community in town. I haven't, I don't know, maybe you have. So we're going to be working on an interfaith service in support of Israel. Anybody that wants to help out with that will be in the very near future. Once again, Shavua Tov, and Blanca has an announcement.
Just real quick, you may or may not know that my husband and I, we work at UTEP, and we are working together with several departments, and we're gonna be showing a movie about the synagogue, the Tree of Life, and we're gonna be talking about how to confront anti-Semitism at UTEP. We are tentatively thinking about Thursday, the week before Thanksgiving. So the date, I don't have it with me, but it will be that Thursday, that week before. It will be open to the whole community, and particularly for our students on campus. So please be on the lookout. We will be starting to promote. We will put together a panel, Rabbi. We're going to be asking several leaders and from interfaith as well. So we want to address it with the students on campus. Baruch Hashem, that UTEP has been really, our students have been really supportive. We haven't seen any demonstrations at all, and we really want to take the opportunity for them to understand the different views, and if you are interested, we can definitely have you there. So again, be on the lookout. Let's be together. We need each other.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you all, and thank you, Lori, so much. Thank you.
I want to.
1 minute, please.
One more thing. Listen up.
I am Salvador Marla Cohen's husband, the Federation Executive Director. I brought in a group of Cuban refugee Jews.
Oh, wow.
And they actually went through the whole difficulties of coming here from Cuba, Nicaragua, Mexico and all of the difficulties that that encounters, that I don't even have the imagination to actually cover myself. They are Jews from birth, but at the same time unassuming. And here are Eliseo and his wife Rachel, and el nombre? Sandy and his wife. They are Spanish speaking only, and they and I just said it in English because I know that most people speak English first. Por favor, den la bienvenida y las gracias por estar aquí y ayúdenlos porque están empezando y quieren traer más gente y crecer en la congregación aquí en El Paso.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Bienvenidos.
Váyanos para que presentarles al Rabbi.
Venga.
Are they going to be living in El Paso?
The resurrected.